Hey everybody, how you doing? And welcome to Beatle Brad's channel. Today, I guess you could tell what my video is about, how I discovered the Beatles and Paul McCartney. This video was actually inspired, I wanted to do this a couple months back. I'm a little slow. But James Griffin, who has a fantastic channel, you need to check him out. James has been doing it for several years, and the guy just really puts his all into every video he does. He shows a lot of fantastic Beatles stuff, plus a lot of other great artists as well. But James is very knowledgeable of a lot of things. And I really enjoyed James's videos. Hi, James. How's it going, my friend? And also, James did his video, and Andrew Dixon, who another guy that you need to check out. Andrew Dixon does magnificent videos. This guy really knows his Beatles. He researches, like I said, about like James, and he follows through, and he really gives a great in-depth video on the Beatles whenever he's doing it, or solo Beatles. You could tell the passion is within both these guys, James and Andrew. They both are really into it, like I am. I mean, I've got a passion and a drive and a fun for doing this. So this is my introduction to the Beatles. And if you saw my picture, I showed a black and white picture of me that my sister took, possibly when I was 4 or 5, something like that, probably 5. She was into the Beatles, and I had an older brother and I had an older sister. My mom and dad were much older, and my sister and brother, they were much older too. So they really, my brother was 10 years older than I was, so he was really into the whole rock and roll scene. He was big into the Beatles, big into Zeppelin and Stones and Doors, and actually, he was really huge with the Beach Boys. He loved Beach Boys. I still have some of his albums that I kept, and he was also big in Beatles. My sister was big into the Beatles as well, and like I said, I'm kind of jumping around, but you saw the black and white picture of me sitting. Actually, it's in my sister's room with her albums. Those are all hers, and this is one of them, which was the Monkees album. And that's on Cold Jams. And yes, this is the original one that my sister had. So I was the one that kind of, being the third one in the family, the third kid, I was kind of the one who ended up, okay, well, I wouldn't say taking them, temporary borrowing their albums. They really didn't care. They really didn't. They kind of outgrew them. My sister also had this one up. These 2 Monkees albums. I'm just showing them to you because somebody will say, "Oh, well, do you still have the original ones?" Yeah, I do. These are my sister's. As a matter of fact, let's see, is it this one? No, it's not on that one. But anyway, I'll look in a couple seconds. So the pictures were on there, and I'm more than positive that my mom bought these. But there's the VJ, Beatles one, VJ. VJ was an incredible company. I'm going to do another video all about VJ, but VJ was a fantastic company out of Chicago, which was a small R&B record label in Chicago, and they kind of jumped on the Beatles bandwagon really long before Capitol kind of did. Capitol didn't really take too much notice until the whole big scene. But anyway, there's a lot more to it. But believe it or not, I'm really surprised. I think one was my brother's, the other one was my sister's. But I still have both copies of the VJ albums, and I'm absolutely more than thrilled to still have them. I'm looking here. Back then, you may say, what are you looking for, Beatle Brad? Back then, my sister wrote her name on these albums because you'd go to parties or go to friends' houses and you want to make sure, oh, I get this back. Well, now in America and throughout the world, these are very highly collectible with the fold out here, you know, the half gate fold, original VJ with the brackets, you know, and all that. These are quite valuable and quite collectible. So I'm glad she kept those. And to show you, here's Magical Mystery Tour. This is an original American mono. And here's my sister. She wrote her name at the top there. That's what I was telling you about. But yeah, it's an original American mono. And this, you know, the American mono of this sounds really great. I think these were better. I think this is probably one of the only better American albums. You know, if you watch my videos, you always know that I'm not in favor of the American pressings at all. You know, the UK and Canadian are much, and German are superior, and Japanese. I practically pick any country outside of America. America did the worst copies of all these albums, but I think Magical Mystery Tour was one of the best ones that America did in mono. If you find an original mono, these are spectacular. So, all right, this is where my story begins because I wanted to get through those. But for me, I was really pretty young and didn't know an awful lot about the Beatles. You know, I knew of them because my sister and, like I said, my brother, my sister was about 6 years older than I was then, and still is. And my brother was 10 years older, and he was very much into the rock scene, the whole bit. He was really, really heavily influenced, and you know, those of you who watch my channel, my brother has passed away from cancer. Cancer got him and ate him up pretty badly, and as a lot of you know, I went through cancer, 2 severe treatments last year, and 2 severe operations. But I do thank you for asking. I'm feeling a whole lot better, doing a lot better. Just some days I'm healthier than other days. Some days, you know, still recovering. But I'm doing much better, and praise the Lord, I'm still alive and still doing well and doing videos for you. So, back to my topic. I'm in a chatty mood today, so I might as well keep going. So yeah, the Beatles were a big influence in our home with my brother and my sister, but I didn't really click because I was pretty young. So I still was in the mode of playing with corgis and dinkies and matchboxes and all of those die-cast cars. I really loved playing with cars. So at a young age, I really was into that. But the Beatles kind of clicked in for me when I was watching TV with my brother and sister, and the Muppets were just starting out here in America, which later became Sesame Street and all that, but back then they were just the Muppets. And it was very primitive, very, very nothing. But on a TV show, the Muppets, they did, at that time it was brand new, they did Octopus's Garden. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is really, really cool. So Octopus's Garden was fantastic to see this. The Muppets doing kind of the watery effects, and they just were mimicking why, you know, Ringo's singing Octopus's Garden and all that kind of stuff. It was great. I really enjoyed it. So that was kind of my first exposure to the Beatles and kind of seeing the albums and saying, okay, this is the group that's doing this. And, you know, like I said, I was playing with my cars in the basement when I was younger. And, you know, I had the radio on at the time and, you know, listening to the radio. And then all of a sudden this song, boom, plays on the radio. And I'm like, that sounds like the band that just did Octopus's Garden a couple weeks ago or whenever it was. I can't remember exactly. And the song was Get Back, and they were playing Get Back. It was, you know, probably several months later. I'm not exactly sure the time span of when the video was or when they did Octopus's Garden and all that. But anyway, Get Back was played. And I'm thinking, oh, this is a cool song. I really love it. These guys singing this song. And at the end of the song, on the radio, I definitely remember them saying, oh, and that's the latest from the Beatles. Sad to say, the Beatles are breaking up, though, we found out just recently. So this will probably be the end for the Beatles, but this is one of the songs on their final album. And I remember hearing that on the radio, and I thought that was really, really pretty neat to hear the actual song Get Back. So it was fascinating. So, as I'm in school and all that kind of stuff, for those of you who don't know, just to be honest with you and share a little bit of history about me real quickly, I have a visual impairment, which was quite severe, and I had a real tough time with kids in school. None of them really wanted to be my friends. Because, kids are cruel when they're young. They don't understand disabilities and issues that you go through. So they really didn't want anything to do with me. They really, looking to see if I had another record to show. They really didn't want anything to do with me by having a visual problem and not being able to see well. So the Beatles became my friends. And I really latched on to them probably around 1975. I started learning more about them. And in 77, late 77, 78, my mom was graciously and kind enough to let me join the Paul McCartney fan club. And I'll show you a few pictures. So I did join the McCartney fan club, and I stayed with it for years. Here's some of my pictures of my membership cards and some other stuff. I really, really enjoyed it. I started getting the stuff before I listened to a lot of the albums. So these were all original Paul McCartney newsletters. Linda did the photography, and Paul wrote the articles, and Linda took the photographs. But stuff like this. And over here, now here's my original head letter, from during that time. For Tug of War, it's another story about how I was invited to go be in the promo video, Take It Away. This is my head letter from Wings fan club to be a part of that. But the video was in California, and my parents, we lived in Indianapolis. My parents weren't about to drive me to California to be in a video and doing all of that. But I've got all the original Paul McCartney articles, and here's more of the fun club throughout the years. I've got all the magazines still. I started showing the magazines, but I haven't shown that many. But back here, this is back in the days when fan clubs were pretty innocent and they were pretty green. So you really kind of could do things and ask things and not really get hassled. You really didn't have that much of an issue. But I wrote to Paul McCartney and I said, I'm really starting to become a fan, and I'm really enjoying being in the fan club. Can I get an autograph? So there's my autograph that Paul McCartney sent to me. You getting that? Yeah. Paul McCartney sent to me here. Of the postcard, and he signed it, and I just, thought it was neat, so I just stuck it in my photo book. That's a really cool thing that I got. I can't believe I got Paul to send me one, because, they sent out a lot of postcards in the fan clubs back then. And here's the original postcard. There's the original postcard of what it looked like before you got it signed. Before I got it signed. So that does show that it's not something bogus. That is the postcard. But back to what I was saying. So Paul McCartney. My sister also had the very first McCartney album, and so I really got exposed, and I really started getting into listening to all of those, and I started to really enjoy it. And then, like I said, by 1975. I was getting much older, and my brother would go with me to the record stores, and I remember buying in 76 Band on the Run when it first came out, so I bought Band on the Run, and I said to my brother, but I want to get more Beatles albums. I really don't have them all. And my brother said, but this is brand new. This is still one of the Beatles. This is Paul McCartney. And I remember playing Band on the Run, and I was just absolutely, for the first time, putting it on the turntable. And I remember hearing on the radio, Jet, Band on the Run. just, I was mesmerized with the songs, and I couldn't believe I had the album. I actually, back then, in the 70s, you could buy albums, and yeah, they were relatively available, but none of my friends were into the Beatles. They still were playing with die-cast cars when I was too. But then all of a sudden I found these Beatles, and they became my friends, like I said, because of having a disability. It really sunk in that these guys, regardless if I had a good day or a bad day, being able to see or not see visually, which my eyes change every single day. So it's kind of a long, wild story. So these guys were always my friends. So if the kids laughed at me in school or picked on me, I could come home and listen to the Beatles, and they were always there. So by having Band on the Run and Magical Mystery Tour and the VJ album, I started listening to those. Started really enjoying the Beatles. And you saw two different pictures in my thumbnail of me being a Beatles collector, starting off in the years and all that kind of stuff. And then now, this massive collection of just over the top craziness of the Beatles. But I'm so into the Beatles. It's unbelievable Beatles. I've got well over, I don't know, probably close to just alone 3,000 Beatle albums, and maybe my solo collection, which I haven't even shown yet, probably close to 2,000 in just those, and probably 1,000 CDs, So, and plus all the memorabilia. I got this whole room is Beatle memorabilia, And if you want to see the video of my room, which I've added more, but it's number 40 through 45, I think it is my towards beginning videos of me shooting videos, but it's number 40 to 45, and that kind of gives you a room tour as well. So, but I really enjoyed the Beatles, and I still do. I still am fascinated with Paul McCartney. I still try to get to a concert if I can, and I saw Paul McCartney for the first time in '89. For the beginning of Flowers in the Dirt. I didn't get to see him in '76. My parents wouldn't let me go. They were saying I was too young to just venture off to go to a concert. So I didn't get to see Paul until '89, and I've been seeing him ever since. And here it is 2020, and Paul's still rocking. So, if I can't make a concert, I'll buy a bootleg DVD of Paul in Germany or Japan or Chicago or something like that. So if I can't go, I'm buying the bootlegs. And same with Ringo. Saw Ringo many years and have bought bootlegs and legit concerts of his. But it shows the longevity of A to Z of all of the Beatles, George Harrison and John Lennon. I'm right there with George and John, as much of a fan as them as I am with Paul and Ringo. It changes all the time. One day I'm really big into George, and I'm playing George Harrison all day or something like that. And then next day I'll be into Paul, and it's fascinating and fun to be a Beatles collector. But I inspire you, as one of my viewers, to really sit down and listen to an album of the Beatles. We listen to them in the car, and we're busy, and we're driving, and we're going places, and we're going shopping and all that. Take time out and listen to the Beatles. The lyrics are deep, they're meaningful, they talk about love and peace and harmony with each other. I mean, they're just, there will never be another Beatles of fantastic music, hit after hit after hit. And same with the solo Beatles, just fantastic. You can get lost in listening to the solo albums and paying attention to them. They all four of them really, in a way, all four of the Beatles are all geniuses. They really, really are. Just spectacular, fantastic albums that they're putting out, and John's albums that he put out in his time period were just spectacular albums. They're just mind blowing of how good they were. And George Harrison, like I said, I could go on, but I need to quit this video. I've been rambling way too long. But I do want to thank Andrew and James, very, very much for inspiring this video. And I hope you've enjoyed it. And hopefully this will maybe draw you a little closer to the solo Beatles or the Beatles themselves. Or for those of you who make videos, maybe you may want to make a video of how the Beatles changed you and your life and all of that, like I said. So I just wanted to say, be safe, wash your hands, make sure you guys are doing well, make sure you guys are keeping healthy, keep your distance, and we will get through this. We definitely will. We have had other huge events in America and throughout the world, and we've made it, and I'm so sad for those that have passed away. Please, please, for those of you, keep these people in prayer that have passed away, if you would, the family members. They're going through such tragedies. But anyway, just inspiring you to do this video. And as I say on my video channel, I'm out of here. Take care, everybody. Great to see you. Take care.